Hello everyone, this is Gene and I'm back with another video after about 2 weeks or so. I hope everybody is well. It's a pretty warm day, pretty warm humid day here in New York City at about 1:20 p.m. And I wanted to do a video, hopefully brief, or at least as brief as I can be, on this verbal diarrhea here. Basically, by one Ellie, or Eiley, I don't know, Ellie Mistal, who apparently is a justice correspondent for The Nation and an Alfred Nobler Fellow. Not that I know who in the world that is, and I don't care. But here's the thing. As you may or may not have heard, there has been a tragedy in Buffalo, New York. A young man about the age of 18, dressed in military-style tactical gear and with a rifle, went to a supermarket in a predominantly black neighborhood and shot several people, around 10, 11 people, I think, or 13. And I think around 10 or 11 of them have died. From what I was reading yesterday, 10 of the victims were black and 2 were white, right? And according to not just the media, right, but also apparently to the police, it seems that this individual who did this uh, has some sort of manifesto or something. So it really does look like it was a racially motivated hate crime, and that's and not just the narrative that the media is going with, although the media is also going with this narrative, but it doesn't appear to be true. Apparently he had a manifesto. Apparently this individual, I'm not using his name because I refuse to give him any more attention beyond what he's done, but apparently he was streaming on Twitch when this happened. Somehow he has some sort of manifesto. Apparently he had the N-word scrawled across his gun, right? But here's the thing. To me personally, even if there was no racial motivation, which there appears to be here, apparently he was targeting African Americans. But even if he wasn't, in my opinion, it's still a hate crime because you obviously have to be full of hate in your heart to go into an area like a grocery store where you know nobody's going to be able to defend themselves or fight back. Apparently, there was a security guard who was a former cop, and he had a gun, and he fired at the attacker, but because the attacker was wearing bulletproof gear, right? Um, the shooting didn't work, obviously, and he ended up killing that security guard, unfortunately. And I know it's a cold comfort to the family of the guard, but that man, in my opinion, died a hero because he died trying to stop a deadly threat. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to do so, but that's not on him. He did the best that he could in a impossible situation, right? And apparently, this young man, this young attacker, was going to shoot himself because because spree shooters tend to be so brave that they go and attack innocent people who are not prepared for that type of level of violence, and then once they're done, they usually either take their own lives or try to die suicide by cop because they don't want to deal with the after effects. So such brave men, such brave person to victimize others and then try to take that way out. But apparently the shooter was talked down by the police, and they have him in custody. I personally hope this young man, they most likely won't give him the death penalty, but hopefully he will get life in prison, which will be a very cold comfort um, for the people who, whether they're dead or alive, who have been victimized by what he did, and especially cold comfort for those who have lost loved ones because of his hateful actions. So there's my sort of piece on that. But because the media gonna media and Twitter gonna Twitter, you now have people coming out and trying to blame gamers, or rather blame Gamergate for this shooting, saying that this young man who's about 18 years old was radicalized by the far right and the far right element in online gaming culture. Right, so here's a series of tweets that I'll go over by Mr. Mistal, and I will break down why his diatribe here is incredibly insulting. Not only just wrong, but insulting to my intelligence. And I am a gamer. And because I retweeted this, I said, I'm a gamer. I've never known of any gamer who's wanted to go and kill people in real life. Just because you enjoy violent video games, right, does not mean that you are a violent individual in real life. I even saw another tweet by another person, a woman, who was talking about how there's problematic elements in all types of video games, including games like Final Fantasy XIV, apparently. Now, I haven't played Final Fantasy since Final Fantasy X, but what what problematic elements could there be in a Final Fantasy game that you think could in any way be tied to something like this? Because people usually point at GTA or Mortal Kombat because of their violent content. So according to that other individual, a Kirby game is problematic and could potentially drive someone to violent madness. This is the thing we have here. People who don't know a damn thing about a damn thing commenting and just spewing their verbal diarrhea. Does this count as verbal diarrhea? I don't know, but you get what I mean. Right? And people believe them or people listen to them because they're a blue check. And if you're a blue check, you're verified on Twitter, well then you must know what you're talking about. But anyway, let me read this. So, Mr. Mystyle, and this fool has the nerve to be from New York City. Why are you embarrassing me? Why are you embarrassing me in my city? Why? Our leadership does it enough. Stop claiming to be from New York City. You ain't got the attitude. But anyway, everybody is on the this is Fox News' fault, and it is. I would love to know how Fox News is somehow responsible for this. Doesn't even explain how or why. It's just Fox News is guilty. Guilty of what? Guilty of what? For what? And why? Who determined this? You? I wouldn't trust you to feed my cat. Oh, wait. That's probably white supremacy in his mind, too, that my cat is a mostly white animal. But anyway, I want to focus on another community I follow closely. Gamers. This is going to be fun. Keep in mind, gamers span across the world. Modern gaming arguably originated in Japan, but we're going to talk about the gamers. Okay. I tend to follow streamers/YouTubers who explicitly don't go in for these white supremacist dog whistles. Which would be what? Because the whole point of a dog whistle is that it's something only the dog can hear. A regular person cannot hear it. So, can you tell me how you, sir, are able to hear these supposed white supremacist dog whistles that you don't in any way detail or describe? But a lot of them don't call it out. Call what out? You're saying it's a dog whistle. Maybe they don't hear it. I get it. For the most part, these people are young, not particularly well versed in things like the history of white supremacist movements. And you are? You're versed in it? You've done studies on the Ku Klux Klan and neo-Nazis? Please, tell me. Regale us with your knowledge of actual white supremacist movements. Are you a Democrat? If you are, sir, do you know the history of the Democratic Party? Do you know the origins of the KKK? Tell me, sir, what history of white supremacist movements do you know of? And avoid politics as uncool and, more importantly, unhelpful to their monetization strategies. Yes, as most smart businesses will. Because you start getting political gets polarized, and then you make one side happy, but you offend the other, right? Companies, after literal years, are finally starting to realize that they have offended their audience more than they have made it grow. So a lot of them are starting to take a more apolitical stance. I cannot necessarily blame YouTubers or streamers who try not to cover politics if they're doing something like playing a video game. They're overwhelmingly white and male. Oh, yes, Anita Sarkeesian all over again. And I've been taught and told to associate words like diversity and inclusion with somebody coming to reduce the breast size of their tunes, which too often is the only corporate tech bro response to legit requests for more inclusion. First of all, you're describing entirely two different things. Diversity and inclusion is usually regards race and sexuality, sometimes gender, but not as much. Right? Diversity and inclusion are usually debated over things like race swapping characters. For example, the constant blackwashing of redheads for absolutely no reason, or the constant mantle swapping that we see in the live action adaptations and oftentimes in the comics of black men taking on the names of established white heroes, which does nothing to actually help that black character. Thinks, for example, Sam Wilson going from the Falcon, being his own man, having his own name, to Captain America, which will always belong to Steve Rogers, and Steve Rogers is a white man. Right? So that usually is the debate around diversity and inclusion. What you are talking about is the debate over how women should be depicted in visual media, and in particular the sexualization element. Right? And guess what, sir? I, who am obviously not white and not male, right? Uh, I would tend to be in the corner of those who want to respect the characters and who believe that beautiful women in media should be left to be beautiful. I don't want to see a ugly She-Hulk, as I've been seeing for years up until recently, or an ugly Wonder Woman or anything like that, right? So you are taking two things: sexualization of the female form, the debate over that, and diversity and inclusion, and trying to say they're one and the same thing, and they're not. More importantly, what does either debate, whatever side of it you fall on, have to do with a young man being crazy enough and hateful enough, and somehow connected enough? Maybe he has family, maybe he borrowed some person's tactical gear or gun or whatever. But to wear military tactical gear, including a bulletproof vest, so he anticipated possibly being shot at, so he may have cased this place and knew about the security guard with the gun, right? How do any of these tie into what this young man did? Where has anybody who opines about these issues in media, in gaming, comic books, movies, TV shows, ever said anything remotely close to, hey, the black people are bad, go kill them? Who said that? Who said that? Who said it? Tell me. Right? So he continues with this diatribe. And so when they see obvious white supremacist crap, such as, again, sir, what is this supposedly obvious white supremacist crap? Talk to me like I'm a blind 5-year-old. Tell me, what is this supposedly obvious white supremacist crap that you speak of? In the chat, in the comments, they ignore it, laugh it off, or pivot to some other point to make everyone feel nice and happy again. Oh no, how dare somebody want to control or moderate their audience and keep things on task? Such terror, so terrible. And those are the good ones. The bad ones encourage it, or go as close to the line as they can. Again, who are the good ones and who are the bad ones? You're the one ascribing goodness and badness, so come on, drop a name. Who's good and who's bad? Tell me. Twitch is constantly behind. I'll give you that. A lot of people complain about Twitch, but then again, social media in general is a hellscape. Like all platforms, there's no AI solution that does a good job of distinguishing between white replacement theory. What the hell is that? Bad, and white boys ranting, whatever. So what about when black boys rant or black women rant, or Asians or Latinos rant. Do you care about that? But anyway, and because of Fox, again, I would love to know what Fox has to do with this. White supremacy and GOP talking points. Ah, so now you want to correlate, we want to connect the GOP with white supremacy. I would like to know where that supposed connection is. I'm not a fan of the Dems or the Republicans. So I would like to know where this supposed connection, this line connecting white supremacy and the GOP is. Someone tell me. I understand the connection between like evangelical Christianity and the GOP, being pro-life in the GOP. I don't see white supremacy though. Could you explain this to me? Right? But I say this as an old gamer. Oh, sir, how old? How old? Something tells me I've probably been gaming longer than you've been alive, but okay. But a gamer nonetheless, and one who is openly black while I play. You think people care. But anyway, my avatars are always black. Ah, yes, you must let people know that you're black. If I was the type to play games online, my avatar would probably be Sub-Zero. Because I like Sub-Zero. It's got nothing to do with race and everything, with the fact that I think he's cool. But anyway, there is an entire world of permissiveness on this stuff. It's not just 4chan and dark web stuff. Such as most of the times I've been called the N-word in real life, like the numerical majority of times have been in general chat in a video game or in an open voice public matchmaking lobby, which they pretty much don't even do anymore because it's so toxic. Okay. First of all, if you're from New York City, you truly are, you've been called the N-word in real life in the street, usually by some other black person greeting you or mad with you. Right? The N-word is used liberally amongst black people in New York, especially if you're in the rougher parts of town. It's just like an everyday kind of like filler word, right? Now, I don't doubt that he's been called the N word in chat in a video game. One of the problems with online gaming, especially with chat, is that, as people have noted, you will have a bunch of edgy 12-year-olds or grown ups with the mentality of an edgy 12-year-old saying mean, hateful, abusive things to try to get under your skin. Right? And guess what? The same thing happens on social media too. So, do you complain about that on Twitter? Because, as anybody who follows me on Twitter knows, I get called a bunch of things. Recently, it's been a coon. I've been called a raccoon a lot because I don't buy into this. The white man has held us down and still holds us down narrative. So, believe me, there are plenty of places where people will call you abusive things in the chat in a video game and outside of it. You want to know how to deal with that? Turn off the chat. Right? These deaths are on Fox. How? How is Fox News responsible? I don't care about whether or not you blame them. Explain to me how in the world Fox News is responsible. For sure, for popularizing replacement theory. You haven't even explained what the hell that is. But the fertile ground for that is not just with actual Fox viewers. Oh yeah, so the more conservative side, the Republicans, even some of the libertarians, they're the problem, right? It can't be that a young man was full of anger and hate, fell into a sincerely toxic ideology, and decided to kill people, right? You don't want to blame the kid who actually did it, right? You don't want to lay the blame where it belongs. You don't want to blame the kid who did it. You want to blame the news organization that you dislike. Well, how about this then? Let's blame CNN, right? Let's blame CNN. Let's all be Jack Posobiec or whatever the hell his name is, and blame CNN and blame Don Lemon for the subway shooting last month, or for that what was it, Vacatia, where the guy drove the car into the crowd of like Christmas carolers or whatever it was, right? Let's blame CNN and Lemon, right, for those actions. Let's hold them responsible for something they didn't do, for something you can't prove that they encouraged, just because we don't like them. Let's play that game. Are you ready to play that game with me, sir? I don't think you are. Right, but here's the thing. But the fertile ground for that is not just with actual Fox viewers. There are edgelords all throughout the gaming community. Yes, that's true. Edgelords don't usually advocate for violence. Being an edgelord and being a white supremacist are not the same thing. Edgelords are offensive. They get a kick out of seeing you get bothered over what they say or do. White supremacists advocate for violence. There is a difference between someone getting a kick out of getting a rise out of you and someone trying to radicalize you to the point of harming innocent people. They are not the same by any stretch of the imagination. Sir, come back down to earth where the rest of us live. But anyway, edgelords all throughout the gaming community who gulp that stuff up and push it through their networks believe. Again, can we get a name? Can we get a name? Who is this supposed evil edgelord? Is it Edge? Is it the wrestler Edge? Oh my god, is it Edge? Has he radicalized us all? To be clear, I'm not saying people who play shooters are going to learn how to shoot people. Yes, you are. I play Destiny and I still beat crap at an alien invasion from the moon. I'm not even saying people who make racist comments are gonna go out and shoot up a black grocery store. That's exactly what you're saying. That's exactly what you're saying, and you're saying they're even more likely if they happen to be Fox viewers, or they happen to like edgelord content from some gaming streamer or whatever. I'm saying that people who want to go out and shoot black people find community in gamer communities. Oh, really? Gamers, gaming community. You're saying that people who want to target another group of people who are different than them find community in the gamer community. The international gamer community that has Americans, the Japanese, Koreans, Chinese, East Asians, South Asians, Europeans, all different types of people in this large space. This large international space, which has always been international, right? So, people who have violent tendencies to want to shoot up a marginalized group of people are going to find community in the place where, like, all the nerds go? That's your argument? A nerdy pastime is going to radicalize people to violence. Sure. Couldn't be real life, couldn't be real world violence, couldn't be things like war, it couldn't be a young person who's lost in life and they encounter somebody who fills their head with hateful things, be it their parents or be it a teacher or some other mentor type figure who decides to basically, and this is what I have noticed, having listened to a lot of people and read stuff about it, like how people get radicalized. It's oftentimes when they're young, which is probably what happened to this young man. He's only 18, but it tends to happen when they're young, and it tends to happen when somebody takes an interest in them and basically takes a situation in their life, right, and chooses a group to blame, right? You can't find a job or you can't provide for your family. It's not that times are hard. It's not that maybe there's some sort of deficiency with you, right? Maybe you need more education, you need more experience, right? It's, oh, man, it's not your fault. Just Look at those Jews, right? They got all the money, they got all the jobs, they run everything. It's their fault. Go hate them. Or it's not your fault, man. It's all those Latinos at the border. They're always taking good American jobs. It's never your fault, right? That's the thing about radicalization or any sort of supremacy movement, right? The flaws and the inadequacies and injustices in life, right, are never your fault, or they're never just a consequence for existing, right? It's always someone else's fault, right? You're a victim of violence. Oh, it's not your fault. Look at all those black people. All they ever do is just worship alcohol and drugs, and all they ever do is just listen to that angry rap music. All they do is just gang fight, right? That's the appeal of supremacy movements. They shift the blame onto another group of people, not to individuals within a particular group, but to the group itself. The group is then dehumanized, right? And dehumanization is how people, such as soldiers, actually get over their natural hesitancy to kill. Because if you view the enemy as inhuman, it is easier to kill them, right? That's how, or at least that's part of how actual supremacy works, by removing the humanity from your victims, by finding a reason to hate them, by finding a reason to blame them. I can't think of any game or any video game I've ever encountered or played in my life, and I've met many people and I have played many a game, that has ever encouraged dehumanization, right? Or tried to argue that this group of people or that group of people are are to blame for the ills in the world or for personal tragedies. So, respectfully, shut up, right? But anyway, as he was saying, I'm not even saying people who make racist comments are going to go out and shoot a black grocery store. That's exactly what you're saying. I'm saying, oh yeah, I already read this part. I'm saying that people who want to go out and shoot black people find community in gamer communities. I already covered all that. Their dad is watching Fox. You have a real hate boner for Fox, don't you? While they play and stream whatever. Yes, I do believe that parents do need to be more mindful and involved of what their kids are playing. But again, just because a kid is playing Call of Duty doesn't mean that Call of Duty is teaching them how to kill, or giving them some sort of narrative that turns them against a certain type of people. You're using the same narrative that thousands of people use to try to get the game 6 days in Fallujah shut down. Right, literal change.org petition to get the game canceled, and you're making pretty much the same arguments that they made, that the game was going to teach gamers to harm black and brown people, in particular people of Middle Eastern descent. There was no proof of that argument for that game, and there's no proof of the lies you're shilling now. Right, but here's the thing. Oh, he was the one who said it. I apologize. It really doesn't matter the game. You can find toxic stuff in Final Fantasy XIV, and Final Fantasy XIV is about fighting literal sadness. But again, sir, what do you define as toxic? What, a white male lead? What's toxic in your opinion? Because what you find toxic and what I find toxic will probably be very different things, because I find this entire trash that you've written here to be incredibly toxic and to contribute to the divisiveness that we see not only in the gaming space, right, but also in the world. You want to talk about a radicalization. You want to blame the Fox News and the GOP. If you're going to talk about radicalization, then you may want to look in the mirror first, because you seem pretty damn radicalized to me. Because you have set yourself against the GOP and you have labeled them in your own mind, according to this, as white supremacists because they don't support what you feel they should. So now you are holding them responsible. You are blaming them for something that, to my knowledge, they had absolutely nothing to do with. So, sir, you look pretty damn radicalized. You may want to reconsider your positions. But again, most importantly, 10 people are dead because of an act of hate. I want to just remind everybody of that. Because while this guy is trying to blame Fox News and is trying to blame the GOP, families are having to bury their loved ones. People are having to plan funerals, and they shouldn't have to be doing that. Lives were snuffed out. Any potential those lives had, gone. Their loved ones are in mourning. And all this lovely human can do is cry about how the GOP is somehow responsible. You, sir, are more guilty of radicalization at this point than Fox News is. Tell me, will you be making a trip down to attend those funerals, since you care so much? Will you be at least praying, if you're religious, for those souls and for their families who have to endure a tragedy that they did nothing to earn? Will you at least be doing that? I doubt it. Because guys like this one love to talk, but they don't like to actually act on anything, aside from their own vitriol and hatred. But anyway, that's the video. Please let me know what you think, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a good day, night, wherever you are.